things. There we go. Right, ladies and gents, as we come into our core, we get comfortable to begin with. So we're going to just take a roll down. Try and roll down to the spine, bringing each vertebra down, letting the head rest and letting the arms just relax by your hips. Bring your feet in a little. So the knees are in line with your hips. We're going to tuck in the chin, draw the shoulder blades down, and then just be aware of your ribs. Sometimes the back wants to arch and the upper abs want to stretch. So what we're going to do is engage the upper abs and draw the ribs slightly down towards the hips. We're then going to hold the ribs in place, not with the hand but with the muscles, and we're going to come into our pelvic tilt. So your hip bones just point up towards your rib cage. Now as you push your tailbone back to the floor, you're trying not to let the rib cage flare. So again, it's a really small, subtle movement. It's almost like you're gently trying to peel your bottom away from the ground. Focus again on the ribs as you press your tailbone back to the floor. Those ribs aren't popping off the ground. It's like your anchor. Your upper body is set still. You're using certain muscles to hold the ribs in place, and then just using the lower abdominals to create that rock through the pelvis. And you feel like you're pressing your belly button down towards the back towards the floor, and then back into neutral. Just twice more. As you tilt your pelvis back and press the belly button down, that's your imprint. And we'll be working that imprint a little later. So from here, we're going to rest midway between those 2 points. So ideally, you're looking to keep the ribs down, headlights towards the ceiling, and you connect into a little square here. Now from here, chin's knotted in, hands down by the hips, and we're going to come in to a knee lift. So your right knee just lifts above your hip. Extend your leg. Keep the ribs and hips held together as you flex the foot and lower it to the ground. And then you bring your knee in above the hip and place your foot lightly on an eggshell. Then the opposite knee lifts, extends, lower. Don't let the ribs and hips pull apart. Legs are diagonal, knee back to 90 and lower. So the breath in to prepare. Out breath with your left. Breathe in as you extend and lower the leg down. And then breathe out with the lift and a breath in as you lower the foot back to the floor. Now, as you make the transition from one foot to the other, you're trying to make sure your pelvis doesn't rock from side to side. And you're also trying to make sure that you're not pushing down to the foot that's on the ground. Now, we're working from here in a neutral position, and we're very aware of that distance between our ribs and our hips. And what you're trying to do here is lock into your tummy muscles, so as your leg extends, it's not pulling the back away from the ground or not letting the rib cage flare. Now from there, you can keep the feet on the floor, or you bring both knees above the hips. Knees are at 90, you're in now into an imprint, so that slight tilt back with your pelvis. You're going to extend one leg, flex the foot and lower, and then bring the knee back into the centre. Breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. As you bring the knee in, try not to bring it over the belly. So as your knee stops above your hip, it stops the weight of your knees holding you in imprint. And by bringing the knees to here, then you have to use your tummy muscles to keep imprint, rather than the pelvis tilting back because the knees are too far over the belly. And hopefully you adjust that knee position and you keep stopping the knee just above the hip. Feel how much harder your tummy muscles have to work. Now again, if you still feel that your back's lifting as you lower the leg, don't take it as far. And you're keeping it really slow and controlled. And we're going to do that once more. And then we let the feet have a little rest down. So bringing both feet down. Knees again, still hip distance apart. Fingertips reaching towards the ankles and your chin tucking in. You're going to reach forward with the lift, a double arm lift, hands towards the ankles and roll back down. Now you can do this with both arms, trying to keep a neutral spine as you lift. If you struggle for any reason with any tension in the neck, You can just place one hand behind the back of the head, but I want you to be very aware that you're not pulling your head forward. You're just taking a bit of weight into the hand, so it stops the neck trying to lift the head. And that way you can focus then more on using your upper abdominals and pulling with your ribs as you lift. Now, if you're using the hand, you can change hands and bring the opposite hand behind the head. Or you can stay again with both arms. We've got 5 left. Now, the whole time as you're moving through your upper body, we're trying to keep that neutral spine. You're gently pressing the tailbone back down towards the ground. And your last 2 here. Now from here, resting in the centre. Walk your feet a little further back. I'm going to come into a single leg hip bridge and challenge our obliques for our balance. So we bring the right knee above the hip. Shoulders draw down and hands just by the hips to begin with. We're going to lift the hips up by squeezing the left buttock. Now from here, I just want you to extend your leg forward so your thigh becomes parallel. Knee back above the hip. And extend again. So again, a big part of our core is the muscles through the back of the body, from our glutes to our lower back, all over the length of the spine. You want to be aware that your right hip isn't dropping. So you've got to physically squeeze that left buttock to keep the pelvis nice and level as your leg moves. Now your next option from here is to work with a straight leg. So you can bring the leg up above the hip, flex the foot, and lower. Breathe in with the lift, breathe out as you ease down. We've just got 2 left, still keeping the squeeze in that left buttock. If you feel the hips sinking, either squeeze more or take a rest. Knee comes above hip, place the foot down, roll down to give your back a little release, and then changing sides. So back with the pelvis first, roll up through the spine, press down to your right heel and lift your left knee. You're going to push the foot forward, thighs parallel, knee back above hip. Your weight even into both shoulders. Now keep the squeeze onto the bottom. So the whole time, every time you extend your leg, your hip, your knee, your ankle, your shoulder stays in that nice aligned position. When you're ready, a little harder, leg straight. Now move slowly. The slower you move, the harder you work your core, because the muscles are stabilising for much longer. Breathe in with the lift, breathing out to lower the heel. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Last one. And the knee comes above the hip, foot down, and lower down. Right, so this time with the arms, you're going to bring both arms above your shoulders. Shoulders away from your ears. Lift your right knee again. Tilt your pelvis back, just 6 on each side. So you rise up into your bridge, option knee bent or leg straight. You're going to keep your right arm still and let your left arm come out to the side, back into the centre. Keep the hips high. As you lower the leg, your thighs just come parallel. You're halfway there. There's only 3 of them left. 3, 2, and your last one. If you can from here, stay in the middle. Drop the hips and then push your foot up to the ceiling. Arms can reach back. Again, you can do this with the knee at 90 degrees. You're halfway again. 3 more. 3, 2, 1, and rest. Changing legs. So the right foot down, left knee at 90, or leg up straight. Palms turn in so your shoulder blades corkscrew together. You've got a nice strong base. When you're ready, lift up with the hips, breathe in, lower the right arm, left leg, breathe out with the left. Now as you're moving the arm and the leg, I'm challenging all the muscles through the back of the body to keep the spine and your hips still. So big squeeze into that right buttock, Feel like you're pushing the hips up towards the ceiling. I think that might have been 6, but just in case it wasn't, we're going to hold here and drop the hips, reach the arms back, and then push back up to the ceiling. Breathe in, out on the push. Try to get the fingers stamping your heel up on the ceiling. Or again, knee at 90 if that feels better. There's definitely only 2 left. And you're 1. And easing back and down. From here, we're going to do a similar thing, but in the opposite direction. So we're going to come onto hands and the knees. Hands come under the shoulders, and the knees come under the hips. Naturally, when you're here, your belly drops. Gravity's going to draw it to the floor. So when your belly drops, your back arches, the back muscles compress, and the tummy muscles lengthen. So we're going to pull the belly button up to the spine and try and create that length into the back. So with your right arm, you just let the arm come out to the side, and then back into the centre. Just in line with the shoulder, and back into the centre. Now you're going to lean a little further forward, and just keep moving the arm. And as you lean a little further forward, you're going to feel that starts to then engage your core and your obliques on the left hand side. Now when you're ready, you can start to add in the opposite leg, pushing back. Keep pushing the head forward so your chin is forward of your fingertips. Think about that lower back. You're trying to get the length in the lower back. So all the work stays in the tummy and the lower back isn't compressing and gravity's not drawing it down to the ground. 2 left here. And your 1 and hold. Now reach the arm you just moved, your right hand forward, left leg behind, and just for 8, that full extension now, all the way through the back. Keep the eye gaze down. Try not to let the back arch. For 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Sit back on your heels. So as you tuck under your tailbone, you're just taking your back in the opposite direction. Walk the hands forward. Press the fingers down to the floor. Almost pull yourself forward with your fingertips. And then let's do that on the other side. So when you're ready, just the left arm. I'm going to turn this way, so I don't use the same arm. So again, just the arm just sliding out to the side. Now you can do this all day long and not feel anything in your core. So if you're moving your arm and you're feeling no response through your core, you probably need to get the back a little bit longer and maybe rock your weight a little further forward. And feel as you're gently shifting your weight forward, your tummy muscles start to respond a little bit more. So you have a little softness in the supporting elbow. You're gently drawing that shoulder blade back towards the spine. Belly's lifted to back. And then the opposite leg starts to get involved. Think about lengthening rather than lifting. You're pushing the leg back and away. Sometimes we make a mistake of trying to lift, and when we lift, that starts to move into the back. So as you're lengthening, you're drawing the abdominals in, keeping that length into the lower back and keeping that support through your core. And the arm again just out to the side. Soft elbow for that supporting hand. And once more. Then you're going to bring the arm forward, leg stays behind, and you're going to lengthen, rock your weight forward. Keep the weight forward as you point that thumb up to the ceiling and lift the arm. Keep your knee and your toes pointing down to the ground. Think about your core, holding the belly button up to the back. 2. And your last one. And again, just sit back, ease back to your heels. Let the head come down between the arms. Take the fingers a little further forward. Pull back with the hips. Press down to the fingertips. Try and pull yourself forward through your fingertips. And then let's come back into the centre. So when you're ready, you're going to bring your feet forward. You can have a rest on the bottom this time. When you're here, don't have your legs too close. Because as soon as the knees bend, the hips close, the hip flexors over-engage. So we're going to have the legs a little further away. Now we're going to take a little C shape into the spine. So the arms come forward, shoulders relaxed, your tailbone tucks under so you're not going into a straight back. What you want to do is squash your square. The ribs and hips need to slide together to get that contraction into your tummy. Once you're there, you're just going to extend one leg and then the other. If your ribs start to lift up away from the hips and the back goes straighter, then your back loads and your tummy muscles switch off. So squash down with the ribs. Keep drawing up with your hips. As you extend the leg, the knees ideally don't stay next to each other. And you're squeezing up through the front of your thigh. Adding in single arm, so you can lift just the opposite arm, or we're going to go straight into a double arm lift. Now, whether you're working with a single arm or double arms, you're going to hold the arms at the top. Bring the opposite arm out to the side. So if your right leg lifted, your left arm comes out, lower. Lift, arm comes to the side, into the centre, and lower. So from here, as you bring the arm down, just around your shoulder, it doesn't need to come any lower. Very aware of that space, squashing between your ribs and your hips. Nice and long all the way through the neck, so you're looking directly forward. And if you need to at any point, you can just work with the arms or work with just your legs, or you can have a rest. Once more, each side. We can do this. So your last one, each way. And then rest. Come forward, tucking your chin, push the belly button back to the spine, and just taking a release into your back. From here, we're going to do a little crunch now into the waist. So what we're going to do from here is roll down, roll the knees to the front, and try and bring your back shoulder towards the ground. If it doesn't quite get there, it's fine. You can let your knees stagger a little. And you're going to try and line your nose up with your hip, chin tucks in. We're going to do a little crunch here. Now as you come into this crunch, you're just using the obliques to lift. When we're here, the tummy muscles do the lift. Because the knees are rolled to the side, the lift has to come from your obliques more. Now again, don't be tempted to pull the head forward. Physically pull from your waist. You can support the weight of the head with both hands. Again, don't pull forward with the head. Just let the head sit into the hands. And really focus on squeezing into the waist. Out breath on the lift. In breath as you release. For 5. And again, nose in line with the hip. 2. And your last one. And rest. Change sides. So the knees just roll to the opposite side. Again, try and line the nose up with the knee. You can stagger the knees, or you can try and push that top knee forward to get more into the waist. Fingers to temples, or supporting the weight of your head. Breathe out as you lift. Now you're never going to lift as high as you normally do into a normal crunch. Just a small little squeeze between the ribs and the hips. And focus on that distance between the ribs and hips, closing a little. And then lengthening as you lower back. Again, hold the head if you need a little bit of support. And give me 4 more. Out breath. 2. And your last one. And you release all the way down. Bring the knees in to the centre. Squeeze your knees, your thighs, your feet together. Keep the feet on the floor a little easier, or let's come up with the knees above the hips. We're going to come into leg rolls with the single leg extensions. We're going to roll to the right, extend the left leg, and then roll to the left, extending your right leg. Now I really like this one because you get quite a nice stretch through the waist. But once you start feeling the muscles that you're stretching, you're using to pull the hips back in line with your ribs. Now you can let the hands rest on the ribs to almost hold the rib cage in place, Oh, with the arms out nice and long. Just pinning both shoulders down onto the ground. And if you want to go even harder, double leg extension. Trying to keep the feet together. Breathing out each extension. And if you want to go even harder, keep the legs straight and just let the legs roll from side to side. And as you're rolling with the legs and the hips, you're keeping the ribs, the shoulders and the head still. Again, trying to work into that stretch each time. Once more to your left. And then let your feet come down to the floor. Just a little release for your hip flexors. You walk your heels back into your bridge, so you tilt your pelvis back, roll it through the hips and press the hips up towards the ceiling. You can give your hips an extra little push up so it gets more stretch into the hips. Almost tilting your tilting your pelvis back and tucking your tailbone under. And as you get that feeling of trying to tilt the pelvis back, again it gets more stretch into your hip flexors. And then you get to release all the way back down. We're going to finish off with a plank. So we're going to roll over when you're ready. Little combination with the plank. We're going to do some walks with the feet and maybe some knee raises. Let's see where we go. We're going to start low with the elbows under the shoulders. You can bring your fists together, pull the shoulder blades back, knees hip distance, bottom lifts, single knee raise, 2 on each side. So with your toes tucked, you can lift your right knee, keep the foot down, and then place the knee down. Left knee lifts, and you lower. Right knee. Now I'm going to keep adding on, so stay where you feel comfortable. Option now to lift both knees. Drop the right knee, lift, left knee, lift. Ears and around the shoulders. Now from here, right leg out to the side and in. Left leg and in. If you're doing this from your knees, same thing. Just coming back to the knee each time, tapping the foot out to the side. Once more each side. Now from here, knees down, hands on your shoulders and walk up. Take your weight forward, tucking over your tailbone. So you can either stay here or lift the knees again. We're going to step out, come forward, step back and in. So to the side, forward, back and in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Weight even in both hands. And again, as you're moving the leg, you're trying to keep the trunk of your body nice and still. Once more each side. Keep that head lifted. This is me dropping mine. And then knees down, straight back to the heels. Walk the hands forward again. Press down through the hands, pull back with your shoulders. And all we need to do now is just spring back up on our feet. Bring the weight forward, tuck under your toes, push back to the heels, press your ears down between your arms, push the hips up towards the ceiling. And then when you're ready, bend the knees, step it forward. Hang for a second, just allow the back to relax, the back to lengthen, the head to feel heavy, so just let it sink to the ground. And then weight into the heels and restack your spine. So nice big roll up to the spine, restacking, coming up tall. When you're ready, as you rise to the top, you just gently roll the shoulders back and down. So rush to spin each vertebrae, restacking as you rise. When you do come to the top, you just take a little lift of both arms, press the hands up to the ceiling, place your fingers together, and just let the hands push over to the right, so you get a little stretch down the left hand side, or a big stretch. Bring the hands into the centre, and then over to your left. That took a little bit of work, and then into the centre, and release. And now you can definitely enjoy your weekend. Well done everybody. Good work. So if you managed not to get a tap throughout that class. Well done, Charles, thank you.